Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk Azure. My name's Alan, and this episode is Build, Build, Build. Build, baby, build, even. Um, hello, Sam.
Hello, Alan. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. So this episode is to recap Microsoft Build that happened last week. So, yeah. Anything else we need to say, Sam?
I don't think anything else has happened in Microsoft land, has it? In the last two, well, that's not been being negative. It's just been absolutely dominant, hasn't it? I think the last 2 weeks, it's all, especially from my side of things, sort of from a development background, it's all been the build up to build, the build up to build, and then Microsoft went ahead and did a 48-hour constant live stream, which was a bit mental,
crazy, wasn't it? Yeah. Across all time zone.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When I first went to look at the schedule, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna suck," because it's all gonna be, Pacific Standard Time or Eastern Standard Time. But actually, it was literally 48 hours, and when I saw, because they were streaming on YouTube, and I saw that because after, like, there's a live event on YouTube. YouTube stores the video, doesn't it? And once it had finished, because I'm subscribed to them, it's like, the stream was exactly 48 hours long, right? And I was like, it was like mental. But you can't watch it back. It's obviously too long for YouTube to record, because it's, when you try and play it, you can't record it on YouTube anymore.
Yeah, and they were doing it at was it 1080p 60 hertz?
Yeah, it was. Well, for me,
FPS even.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was 1080p, because I, to be honest with you, they obviously had, because, a vast majority of them were working from home. The sessions were literally people, streaming from, I assume they were pre-recorded. I don't really know, but the live stuff when they were in the studio, I mean, the production quality was like insane. It was. I don't know, but they do that, don't they, at Microsoft events? Well, they have like an area where they all talk from, but it was just looked like a studio, they spent some money on it. That's definitely.
Yeah, and it's great that they made it virtual, even in the COVID-19 world, allowed everyone to actually be part of it, and that was their big thing, wasn't it? To make sure everyone was involved. They were on Twitter a lot. They were trying to get all that interaction, because they missed it, because being there, being part of the day or the days, with Build, with Ignite, everything else, it is one part of it, isn't it? Let alone the sessions.
Yeah, I mean, their coverage is good anyway, but what was really good about virtual Build is that we still had those Q&A sessions that you could book onto. I mean, they went like instantly, but the fact that they were still doing like talk to Microsoft even remotely, that's just like, that seems insane to me. And like, absolutely fair play, and thank you ever so much for everybody that that prepared for that, because it was like I was saying, I was talking to you about, like, my YouTube subscription feed is nuts. Well, was nuts. Like the past probably 4 or 5 days, they've been uploading clumps of recorded sessions, and I'm talking like a lot of content, and a lot of content you like completely miss. Like, you like, I was watching a video about Blazor today, and I didn't even realize that Steve Sanderson had done a video, like a session on it. I completely missed it. Like, I would have watched it.
It's exactly like when you're at these events, you can only see so much, can't you? It's not. And this is. It's all there, but it's still hard to see everything. You've got to pick and choose what you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, I've favorited a load of it, and I'll probably never get round to watching all of it, because and the sessions are long. Like, they're meaty. You know what I mean? They actually go into, like, some of them are like starter sessions in there, but some of them are like, a session where they talk, and then they have a Q&A, and it's in depth with an actual, like, part of the engineering team, and they're answering questions. And like, I don't know, that one I watched today was like, I think it was like 45 minutes. And it's like, I've got like, they're all like at least 25 minutes long, 25, 35, it's like just the amount of effort that went into preparing for that.
Well, you got to think that in February, March time, they probably thought it was still on, and now it's like they had to literally change everything to remote.
Yeah, and preparing all of those people, making sure that they can, they've got the equipment at home to record, and doing all of that sort of side of things as well. The logistics of that, it must be, pretty hard.
But
then go on. No, you go.
I was going to say, beginning of, because I expect quite a lot of it was using Microsoft Teams to bring them into the sessions.
Yeah.
And of course, beginning of March, April time, Teams did get quite busy because of the COVID-19. Everyone moving, remote working. It did have not issues. It had, it became very busy very quickly. So Microsoft had to obviously spin up the back end a lot quicker than they anticipated. So.
Yeah, but I think they handled that well. I mean, considering the massive surge of users that they had, I mean, we did have a bit of, like, I wouldn't really call it, I would say we had, like, degradation in, like, areas that we didn't really care about, like read receipts, right? Like, as in, like for weeks, but that wasn't like core functionality. It was like I couldn't tell if somebody had read my message, which is like the least of my, concerns about, do you know what I mean? Like, I had maybe one of my clients ask me about that. Like, there was a really confusing thing where Teams had said that somebody hadn't been online for like 48 hours, and like somebody had thought that somebody like wasn't available for 48 because they had just checked it, and they hovered over it and they went, oh, one of my team members, I haven't checked in with them and I haven't seen them online for ages. So apart from that, I haven't had any real like issues at all, to be honest with you.
No, and I was able to work, remotely and continue working in that part. So, big shout out to Microsoft for that as well, making sure that all stays up. So
yeah. Oh yeah, I can imagine that is that's not a simple situation for some infrastructure people there, that's for sure. So right, so what are we talking about today, Al? What's the well, it's called Build Baby Build, isn't it? The title of this one. So I assume we're talking
I guess
about
we're going to run through some of the main, or some of the bits out of Build that's kind of Microsoft Azure and 365e bits that kind of hit our bits. So Microsoft Lists.
Microsoft Lists. Do you want lists, Al? Because you're getting lists everywhere. There's going to be lists left, right, and center. You want lists for your lists?
So is this an upgrade to to-do lists, or and planner kind of thing? Or
I mean, so I use a piece of software called Notion, right? And Notion is basically like it's not a Microsoft product. It's like they're their own company, and it basically allows you. It's kind of like OneNote in effect, but it's a bit more. I mean, the mobile app is nice, so that's why I use it. But basically, you can put more than lists in it, but it allows you to build these like hierarchies of data and link them through to each other. So like one of the like to do, I see this. Yes, I think you're completely right. I see this as a evolution of to do, but it allows you to do it in a collaborative way, and also your lists aren't necessarily just text lists. They are items. Like it could be a table, it could be cards, it could be, so it's not just, it's lists of things but different types of objects,
Yeah, and I guess that planner is more sort of tasks only, really. Like you're saying, list is actually, it won't be a shopping list, but kind of that thing. It's items rather than it being tasks, and because that's exactly what to do in planner are, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not your personal one. Planners your like tasks within a Microsoft team or something.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't Kanban, right? This is just lists and collection of lists. I say just list. That's not the right way for me to say that, but it's I think it's more complex than. I'll give you an example, right? So let's say you have an Excel spreadsheet of some data that you want to visualize in a way that's maybe not. Let's say you have a list of potential customers, right? So imagine you have like a CRM. Let's say you're not in, you don't have a CRM system, right? So you're not like a Dynamics or a, something like that, right? And you've got a list of prospects or something, and you want that shown in a way that's not just Excel, right? You might want like a nice table or a nice form or something like that to show it to you. So I think that's what it's just a different way to convey this list-based data, categorize it, sync it all together, and also share it with other team members. So I think for me, so one of the other examples is they've got an asset manager, right? So all the assets in the business, and being able to take pictures and render those pictures. And it's just instead of having like a boring Excel spreadsheet, you go into the asset management list, and that would be
okay.
Do you see what I mean? So it's kind of like an interface for your data.
No, that's good. Yeah, because I guess if you had asset management in an Excel spreadsheet, it'd be difficult to put pictures in the spreadsheet as such, because directly into it without creating a link to it in a OneDrive and things like that, and not actually seeing it there and then. So
one other thing just to touch on is there is this action based rules. So if an item is deleted or an item is created, then you can trigger actions like sending an email to somebody or a group of people.
Oh, so it's got a bit of like Power Automate sort of built into it, maybe. Ooh.
Yeah. So it seems to me like this is, I think that's probably quite a good way to describe it, really, because Power Automate. Well, no, let's talk about Power Apps, right? Power Apps is for building proper pieces of software, right? But if you just want a list of assets, you could do that in Power Apps, but would you really need to try and build all that functionality out for yourself? You might, and Power BI really isn't the right product for that, because that's for more analysis of data. Tell me, show me all the number of assets that are expiring in the next 6 months or something like that. This is just purely a nicer interface without having to build a SharePoint site, right? Because this is what you would have done before, right? Traditionally you might make a SharePoint list, get a consultant or somebody to come in, and now one of the big things that I don't know, this was new to me, but they were talking a lot about citizen developers. So you got professional developers, which are the consultants, and then you've got citizen developers, which are people that are maybe in accountancy teams or HR or legal teams, which are starting to build Power BI, and they're starting to build. So this to me seems like a really good way for a quotes citizen developer, and I think that's the right term to call these people, to visualize and model their data without having to get complex and get a SharePoint person to come in and do it, or a Power Apps. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess that's Microsoft envisioned Power Apps and Power Automate or Flow as it was previously, to be that someone can do it themselves most of the way, and then it does. Power Apps can and Power Automate can get complicated, depending on what you want to do. But some of the simple things, as a citizen developer could do that quite easily. At least get them off the ground.
With it. Yeah, but this is if you just want to but Power Automate and Logic Apps. Well, let's forget about Logic Apps, because that's more of a technical. It's not technical, but it's more of a technical thing, right? Power Automate is all about actions at certain events, isn't it? It's not about visualizing data. It might be about packaging data and sending that somewhere else, do this, move this to this system. It's very flow orientated, whereas this is but I assume I haven't seen it in the documentation. Obviously we can't see this because it's not out until the quotes end of summer, or it's rolling out in the summer, whenever summer is, in whatever time zone in whatever region they decide.
Can't even play with it yet.
No, exactly. But I think this will empower a lot of people to make use of Teams more, to add more value to the data that they're storing in Office 365, right? Because it's no longer a boring Excel spreadsheet. It's like a nice interactive list, table, grid, card, whatever, I mean, you can even do calendars, with dates and stuff like that. So
Okay.
it's it looks. I will certainly use it because there's things that Notion does for me. So like I like to categorize things personally and professionally in daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly views. So I have lists for like I'll sit down at the start of the month and I'll go, right, what do I want to achieve in this month for this part of my life? Like it might be like the housework, right? Like I want to, fix the garden or fix the fence and the, whatever it could be. And that's my job. All of those jobs are for like May. And I can do that in Notion because I could do that in OneNote and I could do it in Planner. Like I could, because I could have I would have to make multiple planners for each different sort of area. Whereas this is like groups of lists, which I think is really powerful. And it's also got the visualization aspect to it, which I think is going to get great engagement. So I'm really looking forward to lists. Any guess on what you think it might cost? Do you reckon it's going to be bundled in? Do you reckon it's going to be free?
Yeah, I think it's going to be bundled into the the 365 licensing. I don't think it's going to be what I'm guessing here. This is my own opinion of this because we don't know yet, but I expect it will be in the E3 or the well, mind you, it doesn't necessarily have to be that. I think it'll be in one of the Office 365 licenses.
It's going to be where it's free and up, something like that. Well, it might even be lower than that.
No, it might be in the F series, the kiosk one. So
yeah, okay. Well, we'll have to see. But it looks great. They've got mobile apps for it itself as a standalone thing. So kind of like Planner, where you have their own apps, and then it's also bundled into Teams as well. Okay, brilliant. Should we move on? But yeah, lists, can't wait. Gonna definitely have a good old play with that.
Great. So what have we got next then? So do we want to talk around the NDI assist for the Teams and Skype TX stuff? Kind of what we're using to record
right
this
now,
I guess.
NDI, yes.
Yeah.
So what is I don't know the acronym, but what does NDI do, Alan?
So this kind of allows us to be in between a video camera stream, allow us to take that video from Skype and Teams. So today you can do that with Skype, and then you can use like things like OBS, which is what we're using to record this video and audio here. So, but allow us to still have that communication, still see everything. So we can have multiple people in this call and grab their video, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah, it's sort of a way to rebroadcast your camera, isn't it? Because you can basically. So what I've got a plugin for OBS, so you enable NDI in whatever software you're using. So Skype supports NDI, as we've spoken about, and it allows you to like plumb that video stream into something else, like as it's like pretending that it's like another source of data, like another video source. Whereas I couldn't just say I want Alan's webcam and I want it in OBS because Skype doesn't. I can't like connect into Skype. Well, you can because you use NDI. So I think the messaging here is I'm not sure what Skype TX is. I've never heard of that before. But I know that when you linked it to me, it's like NDI is coming to Teams. So basically what it allows us to do is we could have this call, because we're currently doing this call over Skype. We could do it with Teams and have the same functionality. So for people that live stream a lot, like you could, it just gives you more flexibility about recording that audio. So for instance, what I do here, because a webcam, you can't share a webcam to two sources, right? So if your webcam is used by Skype, it's used by Skype. You can't then connect it to OBS at the same time. So what I do is I have my webcam pointed at Skype, and then I grab my NDI source from my side into OBS. So we're both using it. So I'm, for this recording, I'm using NDI to record like both of us. So yeah, it's a big old change for Teams.
Yeah, and I think we're talking, we're using it for these podcastings, but for a big organization, it means they can have a Teams call, and then using the live event part of Teams, they can then stream. They can use OBS or other products out there to stream, to build, in effect, manage their live event using, the thing, the video from Teams and Skype.
Got it.
To then broadcast it into the live event, so they manage it rather than just seeing.
Because I suppose so let's say you had 4 people, and you had NDI enabled, you could have a dedicated stream for each one of those people. Pipe it out for your production workflow, like you were saying, like if you imagine build, you had all 4 people instead of just screen recording Teams, right? You could actually pipe each of the video streams out and then merge them together, however you want to do that. Yeah,
and it could be like you said, it could be instead of it being 4 people on the screen, you could actually share the whole screen as being one of those feeds in your live event. So then when the next person talks, you can flip it straight to that full screen person.
Right, got it. No, that's really good.
So yeah,
it's cool. Yeah, no, I think we kind of I think had an inkling that this was coming because it was missing. Right, it's like why is it in Skype? But it's one of these things. Teams is a relatively new product especially compared to Skype, so it would make sense that it's going to take some time.
Yeah,
to
and Microsoft tend to push some of the stuff out to the consumer world first as well. If you think about multi-factor authentication or the passwordless sign-in that you can do, it came to Microsoft accounts first rather than the business Azure AD bit for testing, kind of like their insider builds and things like that, tested with the consumers, the millions of people there first before bringing it into the business.
Oh, sorry if you just heard that. I just dropped. It's okay. I just knocked something over. We're live, everyone. This is what happens. I don't know if RTX voice caught that one, but I just dropped something. Right, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's all good. Okay, cool. Fluid framework. Alan, do you know what the fluid framework is?
So I've seen a little bit about this, but you'll have to fill in the blank. So this sounds like a new document that you can create within maybe Office products or online. I'm not quite sure about that, but allows you to bring in all the different types of Office, like PowerPoint and Word and Excel sort of functionality into one document. Is that how you were?
I mean, the way that I've sort of this has come across to me, right?
Yeah,
is that the fluid framework is, from what I can see, is like a blank canvas document that you can embed different other Office document types into. So
okay,
let's say you're an accountant and you create management accountant reports every month, and maybe at the moment you might produce summary with that, talking about what's happened over the month and any gotchas that you need the your upper management to know about. You might send a PDF document or a Word document, and then you might also send like an Excel spreadsheet to back up with your data inside of it. Now, from what I can see, the fluid framework allows you to embed like Excel, any object type, into like a fluid document. So you could have like a block of text, which would technically be a Word document, and then you could embed like a table or a chart from Excel, but you could I think you can edit it from inside of that document.
Okay, so instead of it being a normal table in Word, say, where you can't really do any functions and do anything that Excel can do, you can actually do it within that same document. So you have to keep, you don't have to do that functionality in Excel and then copy that table over and then have a copy of it.
So it's basically allowing this collaboration, but not just between people, but between applications in the same document. So I'm not sure I don't think it's a different document type. I think it's just saying that in Word you can embed like an Excel component.
Oh, okay.
But I believe as well the fluid framework is a development framework, so you can build your own like fluid framework elements. So it's not just for embedding other Word documents. It's like a standard for developers to create their own integrations. So if you were a SaaS provider and you wanted to embed something, like you wanted, I don't know, let's say you were MailChimp and you wanted to make your own Fluid element to embed your MailChimp stats into, your documents, that would be a thing that you could do.
Oh, so you might have integrations into CRMs and things like that, so you can bring data in from there. So it kind of like the what did it used to be called, where pre-populate the document, because based on the data, I can't remember what it used to be called in Word.
Well, like a mail merge.
Yes, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, but you could always, I think you could always embed objects, though, couldn't you? You could always embed but I think it was a bit. I definitely don't think it was in any of the online versions of any of the products as well. So I think this is, from what I can see, I haven't, I'm not yet, it's on my to-do list to have a proper play with this, because I think this could be very, very interesting. A few different things came to my mind straight away. So I really want to sit down and look at the tooling and the documentation to see what this is like. But yeah, it does seem, but yeah, it's again this bringing together of these different products and systems, isn't it, into one sort of cohesive.
Yeah.
Like it's still it's still a Word document, but it could have a PowerPoint embedded in it. Like,
I wonder if the merging of the Office application in Android and iOS to the Office app was kind of the start of this.
Potentially.
To bring it all into one product. I mean, you can understand with that product, I mean, we're going a little bit off topic here, but you can understand that bringing those bits into one product was good from a updating perspective, because, 40-60% of it is all the same. And doing a change to authentication within that application means they have to do it for each, PowerPoint, Word, Excel, etc., and bring it into one place so that you can, have to update once, bring stuff out to the world quicker.
Yeah.
But it kind of feels like they're bringing this into help with that, that merge of that Fluent framework.
Yeah, and I mean this being able to embed different, to compose this document built up of different document types is again this way to empower people to create more engaging experiences inside of documents, right? So if you imagine, if you've got like because I did play with there's like a public preview of it, and basically what they show you like a document with a title, and it kind of really reminds me of like the new Gutenberg editor from WordPress. Like it looks like a markdown file in effect, and you can press plus and you can embed different things. So at the moment they've just got like tables, people, dates, bulleted lists and stuff like that. So there's like it seems to be this, but I'm gonna learn about it more. I'm definitely gonna go a bit deeper with it and try and give a have a proper play with it, and then I'll report back, because at the moment it's very new. This is the first public preview that we've had of it. I assume other people must have known about this, but this is brand new to me, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, okay, we can try and chuck that into the news in the next.
Yeah, I mean, maybe what we should
podcast.
try and do is maybe we'll do an episode on it, and just, I think lists as well, and that is probably worth its own segment in terms of, what's the reasoning behind it, and what can you achieve from it, because it's so new that we're not really going to see, everything that can be done with it. Those integrations are going to take time.
No. Yeah, we're going to have Office 365 and that all upgrade to tenants upgrade and things like that.
Cool.
Yeah. Right then. So
what's next?
Something from Azure now. Then we'll leave the 365 sort of.
It's amazing. I just want to say one thing. It's amazing that how at Microsoft Build, we just talked about so much Office 365, right?
Yeah.
It's almost.
It's not just about.
It's almost
building code, is it?
It's not. It's very much platform orientated now, right? Teams, Power Platform. MCSD is dead. Well, dead-ish, whatever, right? And and we can see these new role-based like Azure developer. Is that going to be more the focus now? Is that going to be building for the Power Platform, building for Teams, Office 365? Is that really what's really interesting to me about the development side of things is we've now got Blazor, which is basically building so instead of having to use JavaScript, you can run .NET in the browser using WASM, which is like WebAssembly, and it
some interesting names.
It's anyway, but it basically allows you to run .NET in the browser, so you can write C# and it will run in any modern browser, right? So if you can imagine that, because it's all web-based, you could potentially run Blazor inside the Fluid framework. So you should still need to learn C# because C# is still like a insanely popular language and all of those sorts of things. So are we going to see this merging of like, instead of writing it all in JavaScript and React and stuff like that, they're going to start pushing Blazor? Like WebAssembly is now, as far as I'm aware, not supported inside of Power BI or Power Apps. I've been trying to get there's user voices for that. We're literally waiting, because that was my first thing. As soon as I can get Blazor inside of Power Apps, like I'm probably not going to use anything else, right? Common data service and Blazor, I'll be away. I can build anything like that I need to then. So anyway, sorry, digression, but and talking about our next news item, it's probably not going to come as much of a surprise, but Microsoft have launched a public preview for static web apps. So ever heard of a static web app, Al?
No, I haven't.
Have you heard of React?
It's not necessarily
Have you heard of React?
Only from you talking around it. Not really. It's not really my area, is it?
So more traditional applications, and still the vast majority of applications are built in a monolithic way. You have a tight coupling between the HTML, like the actual website, like how it looks and feels, the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and also the backend. So we've got ASP.NET MVC, and that is that is more of a traditional web application approach. But now we also have the idea of front end and back end. So now we're moving into this sort of API driven world. Decoupling your front end and your back end makes a lot of sense, because you build an API and then that API could be consumed by your front end, but also by other systems. So if you need to talk to somebody else, or they need to talk to you, you don't need to build, in effect, an API on the side of your standard web application.
Okay.
Now, that means that your front-end code is basically static. It's literally just files that you upload to a web server. So you don't need you need a web server, but you don't need AS or .NET or ASP.NET running in IIS. You literally just need somebody to send you the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, and the app will function. So it's sort of all the processing is done in the user's browser instead of on the server side to render it. And the way that we've deployed, so let's say you had an Angular app, for instance, or a React app, you would compile it into its form, and then you would upload it to blob storage. You would enable static website hosting on it, and then it would be up and running. But blob storage is really for storing blobs, not the functionality is there to host a static website, but it's not really. It was never really designed to do that. It can do it, and it does it very well. There's nothing really wrong with it, and you can promote it to Azure CDN and all of that sort of stuff. But anyway, they've now brought out Azure Static Web Apps, which gives you a pipeline of how to deploy your web apps, your static web apps, to Azure in a simplistic manner. So it's giving you and it's giving you the connectors that you need for the serverless, so into Azure Functions and all of those various platforms and systems that you need. Okay. And it's by default, it's got CDNs built in.
Yeah, I've lost you there, Sam.
Sorry.
Are you there?
Oh, can you hear me? Are you back?
Hello, you there?
I think.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I need to move. I need to move you on OBS because your thingies. Anyway. Apologies for that. I think that was my internet again. So apologies for that. So now we've got this way to host these static web applications, which gives us developers better DevOps and workflows to get our code up to Azure. And obviously it's inside this managed environment, so there is, the ops cost, again, with these PaaS solutions is a lot lower. There's a lot less for everybody to manage.
So Teams templates, I think it's been quite high on the list of user voice to be able to spin up new Microsoft Teams, but to build to have a template, so you can have your standard. I know in a university it might be a course template for that course, or it could be one for each customer that's always the same. So they've brought that in, so then users themselves, if you allow them to, allows them to choose one of those templates that you've built yourself, or that Microsoft have pre-populated, because they're quite good at putting some standard ones in there.
Yeah. So is that around like templating like channels inside of Teams, and then the tabs inside of those channels?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. What channels you have. They were in there in public preview, but I think that this is it being.
Is it coming live? Okay. Right.
Yeah. Cool. Or they're bringing in they've actually built it in a bit better, because I think beforehand some of it was around PowerShell and doing it in the back end as managing it that way. And I think they've brought it to the front so users can actually do it now. So,
okay. Oh, that's great. Okay. Awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah. So what about Azure VM Image Builder Service? Sam?
Yes. Well, welcome HashiCorp and Packer to the Microsoft family, I suppose. I mean, so if anybody's unaware, image building, so a VM can be spun up from an image, can it? You can create a virtual machine, you configure it to your liking, and you can save an image of that virtual machine. So in the future, if you need something you might have a base configuration for one of the products that you support, and then you can just spin up that template, and it's got a load of stuff predefined. You keep your templates up to date, you patch them regularly, and you've got templates ready to go. And one,
I guess,
go on.
I was just about to say, I guess you use this in some of the VM scaling environments where you need to spin up more of them based on load and things like that.
Correct. So if you have like a scale set, if you're doing like an Azure batch workload, you basically say, I want 10 of this image, right? And that's how you define it. So, but getting that image there, we've got ARM templates which allow us to build infrastructure, but not necessarily this sort of automation level that like a lot of admins need to be able to configure the actual box. Like you might want to install a base set of security patches, get IIS fired up on it, and all of those different things, So a company called HashiCorp, they build various different developer tools. So like Terraform is one of their massive products, but a product that they have is called Packer. And Packer is basically a command line runner. You create a config and you say what your base image is and what you want it to, like the scripts you want to run on it, and it will go and use a cloud service to build that machine for you. So let's say you bring up an Ubuntu VM, and then let's say you just wanted to install the latest patches and shut it back down and save a snapshot, right? And let's say you want to do that every week, you could automate it to do it. But now we've got Azure VM Image Builder, which is apparently running on Packer itself. It's the same technology. So basically you pick a base machine inside of Azure, you then give it a configuration, and it will go and build the machine that you want. And it does it in an automated fashion. It's infrastructure as code. So there's a configuration. There's a baseline image and a configuration, and you can run it autonomously. At the moment, it's supported East, West US, Central US, and North and West Europe. So unfortunately, no UK South and UK West yet, but they generally lag behind anyway. OS support is across the board, like Ubuntu, Red Hat, CentOS, Windows, obviously, and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, so you sort of take your, source container, your source image, you run a customizer on it, and then you distribute it either into a VHD, a managed image, or a shared image gallery. And then from those places, you can then build your virtual machines in an automated fashion. So yeah, really good to see them add to the functionality, because there was a gap there for sure. Because I've talked to you about running batch workloads and scale sets, and there's before it was like go in and configure the box yourself and then save it, and it was like that's not really what I want to do. I want something to go and build it for me so that I can run it again in 2 weeks and get like the latest versions of software or whatever I want to do, or do it in an automated fashion. So yeah, and it supports Chef and Puppet, so they're sort of standardized tools for configuring infrastructure. So they're supported out of the box. So this actually, what I think's amazing about this change, and I couldn't quite believe it when I was reading it, is that it is built on like a pre-existing platform. So it's not like, one of my gripes with ARM is that ARM is only for Azure, right? And I know why it's like that, because it's basically what runs Azure anyway, and they're just exposing it to us so we can use it. So that's great. But this is like a kind of a no-brainer, because if you're an infrastructure engineer, you can learn Packer, and I mean, okay, I know this is the Azure podcast, but you're not locked into one single platform. You're learning skills that you could take to maybe another job, maybe a role, or different provider, or and Packer doesn't even just work in the cloud; it works on just normal bare metal servers as well. So, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
we're at.
Yeah, sorry.
I was about to say we're at around 44, 45 minutes, give or take. That's the minor outage earlier.
Yeah, apologies for my dodgy 200 megabit internet. I apologize for that. So yeah, okay, let's rattle through these next, but these bits are smaller anyway, aren't they?
Yeah. So if we cut out the Azure Security Center bit, and we'll do that next, in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. We've got a couple of new extensions for Visual Studio Code, which are aimed around Azure. So it allows you to more efficiently connect into virtual machines that you've got running in Azure. And also another extension which allows you to browse resource groups. So instead of having to use the portal, which we all know and love, and we love our Blade interface, but you can actually go and browse resource groups directly from Visual Studio Code. So great for infrastructure engineers and developers to be able to quickly connect and also browse to see what's happened in Azure.
That's going to save some time then, isn't it?
It's just
save you flipping.
I won't have to alt tab. Yeah, I won't have to alt tab into something else. So yeah, that's great. And also we've got the new portal experience. So in Azure Functions, we've had a new portal for a while. It's been there. You can enable it, but now it's enabled by default, and it takes away. The old interface was a little bit less streamlined. It was sort of it's the interface we've had sort of since it was in public preview. Like it hasn't been updated, and now this new one, it just some things have been rearranged to make it a little bit more user friendly and a little bit easier to live with. So yeah, so that's come out of sort of public preview. Yeah, I suppose it is. Did it come out of public preview? I assume it did.
It must be if it's becoming the default,
it's generally available, so it's pretty cool. So that's pretty much my roundup. There is also been a lot of other stuff from Build around machine learning and AI, but that's not really an area that I sort of live and work in. So yeah,
same here. So it'd be quite hard for us to comment on it as such. When it's probably very cool what they're doing.
So that was our build wrap up, wasn't it? So
yeah. well, a small section of it at least.
Oh yeah,
as you said.
there's so much. We missed so many things. So apologies if you were, if there's anything that we did miss. But we just wanted to get the high level bits that were more focused towards Azure, because there was a lot of developer stuff in there, and this is more Azure, Office 365, and Power Platform. So
it's the bits it's the bits we use day to day, or will be using day to day as it comes out. So it'd be quite hard for us to comment or put an opinion on something we don't really use as well, isn't it?
No, exactly.
So
cool. So
what we're going to do next then?
I don't know. I haven't even thought about it, to be honest with you.
So it's probably some of the updates will probably be around the Azure Security Center, because we ran out of time for this one. There'll be some stuff coming out.
Yeah, well, I think maybe because we've had sort of 2 weeks of build, maybe we'll start to get more, other stuff. Like there's probably been other areas that have been updated. With the current pandemic and all of that sort of stuff, I don't know what the effect on the roadmaps that's had, because of them having to sort of pivot
reprioritize.
Reprioritize, like just keeping teams up and like everything up. Do you know what I mean? So, so it'd be interesting to see what we sort of see over the next few months now that things aren't returning. Well, things are returning back to normal for us in the UK anyway, slowly. It'd be interesting to see what we get out of there. I think, but yeah, we're not really sure. Obviously, we've recorded this episode 2 weeks after we recorded the last episode. I think it's good to say that we're going to try and stick to that upload cadence, like every 2 weeks, because we don't feel like we'd have enough content to do it every week, and maybe 2 weeks is too fast as well. Maybe it should be every month, but we'll see. We'll see what we can.
We might. Yeah, we'll see what it's like next week, and it might be that maybe we move to 3 weeks, just give us that extra week to
potentially
have something else to more stuff to talk around to keep it to. Well, it looks like we're aiming for an hour now.
Well, it's just like we write every single week. Well, not every single episode. We write in the document stick to 35 minutes, and now it's on my recording time is 52 minutes 32 seconds, and it's like I feel like we just blasted through that stuff. But the problem is that, like, in a week where there's so much news, it's hard to cover a concept. Like when you're talking about lists, like list is such a big piece of software that, we've only got like a little preview of it. You can still talk about it for 10 minutes quite easily. So yeah. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. If you made it this far, that's absolutely amazing. We can see on our analytics that we've got some people listening and subscribing, which is great. And if you have got any comments for us, please just use our contact information to get in contact with us. And I think that's pretty much it. Alan, anything else you want to say?
No, just say thanks for listening. We haven't promoted this yet. We haven't made any campaigns to say, hey, come and listen to this. And we're just kind of seeing how it rolls at the moment, and getting our flow into how we do this. I mean, the first episode was us just creating accounts and working out how to upload to different things, wasn't it? It was like, I think we recorded it 2 weeks ago to the day, and I don't think, when did we actually upload it? I can't remember. We published it on like Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, wasn't it? So
but we recorded it the Thursday before, didn't we?
Yeah.
It took us like over a weekend to get it out, because it was like, and the problem was we had to wait for Apple and Google to verify the first episode, didn't we? So it was a bit delayed. But now we should have our process down, except for our minor technical hiccup we had earlier with thingy. So that's all cool. All right, excellent. Well, thank you, Alan, and we'll speak to you all later.
Catch you guys soon. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.